Welcome to TLC for the Soul podcast, where soul meets spirit. You have entered into sacred space. I'm your host, Tammy Lynn Chambers, and I'm here to help you shine. Now let's get going on this podcast journey.
Hello everyone, hello and welcome to the joy-filled month of December. I'd like to talk for a few minutes about our special offers. You've heard me mention this first one before if you've been a regular listener to the podcast, but if you're new here, I invite you over to join me on Scribed. It's like a Netflix for books and audiobooks. And there's just a vast array of books out there, and you can definitely find what you are wanting to read or listen to. At least I have. And all of my books as well are on Scribed. So, not on the audiobook yet, because for some reason, the quality of my audios is not studio quality, so I think to have an audiobook out there, it has to be like studio quality. So one day we'll have audiobooks out there. We'll get myself or somebody in the studio to record those. But the reason I always like to talk about Scribed is because when you use the link that I provided in the show notes or in the video description for the free trial, you get 2 free months of Scribed. And when you sign up for the free trial, then I get 1 free month added to my membership. So I really love that reciprocity. And I think it's better than a referral fee or whatever, because I really enjoy my Scribed membership. Our other offer for December is our December book of the month, which is Kyanite Fairywing Missing Shadowbooks. And that's what I'm going to be talking about next here on the podcast is Kyanite. So we'll be doing the backstory and character intro and reading a few segments out of the book. And I invite you to read Kyanite Fairywing. If you like the ebook format, then it's free wherever ebooks are distributed, I guess. Apple, Google Books, it's not free on Barnes and Nobles. Scribed, it's free. All the other, like Kobo and all that, I don't know. Whatever you can find ebooks, it's free, except for Barnes and Nobles and Amazon. For whatever reason, they won't let you set the price to free. So it's 99 cents there. And then the paperback is also on sale for $9.99 over on Amazon. So I hope you enjoy these special offers, and let's move on to hear more about this month's topic, which is believe and how that relates to the book Kyanite Fairywing. Hi everyone, hello, welcome back to me talking about another book. So if you're listening to this as a podcast, we are taking a little sidestep away from the reading of Abigail Smile and the Spectre and Book Coven series for a moment, and we are going to dive into the book of the month, which is Kyanite Fairywing Missing Shadowbooks. I'll also be putting this up over on my YouTube channel as just the book intro, not so much the podcast. I don't know, maybe it is just the same thing, and who really cares, right? But this book is very special to me. So when I do the book intros, I kind of like to talk about the characters, and they're here with us now, and just kind of share a little bit about I guess I say the backstory, but kind of like the journey that brought this book, the journey that birthed the book is kind of like where we're going. And then we'll read a few passages. We'll just intuitively let Spirit show us a few passages from the book that kind of surround the topic today of believing. This is all about believing in your dreams. So as we always do when we are listening to anything that I'm recording here for you, I like to just set an intention. And if you'd like to do the same and add to that, and you can listen however you want. You can just listen as you're just listening because you're interested in the book. You can listen with the intent of receiving downloads or messages from spirit or your spirit guides or angels about how what I'm talking about might pertain to you personally. Or you can also set the intention to just listen to I call it unintentional ASMR, because I'm really not sitting around with props trying to make sounds. The books and things around me make sounds, and the nature and my water bottle and all that. Or you can also set the intention to receive any healing downloads that might be coming through my voice to you or for you on your behalf. So take what resonates and leave the rest. It really doesn't matter. It's all just up to your own personal preference. But I am wrapping us in love and light and love and a circle of just sacred, safe space. And I invite you to get something to drink or something to just be cozy. I'm recording this in December in the northern hemisphere. Maybe get a warm blanket. It's kind of cold outside this morning. Last time I recorded was Abigail Smile, and there were coyotes in the background. It was so fun to hear them. This morning, as I was walking out to do the recording, there was a beautiful red-tailed hawk just sitting maybe 5 feet away from me on a branch, and she never moved the entire time. We just kind of sat there and kind of soaked up each other's energy. So whenever there's spirit animals that show up around me, I'll mention those to you. And if you're interested, those are things that you can kind of, intuit on your own, like what that spirit animal might mean for you, or what, sometimes I like to Google them sometimes, because sometimes I come across really cool meanings that have special messages too. So let's talk about Kyanite Fairywing. Let me just briefly just go over the book description so we know kind of a little bit where we're coming from. It says, in this first book of the Kyanite Fairywing adventures, we meet Kyanite, Lilac, and Onyx. They work for the elite fairy guard of Chumasha, an etheric city in New Earth circa 2025. It's not that far away. A world where fairies, angel witches, unicorns, and merfolk abound, and a place where magic is very real. The other side of the spectrum still exists in the neighboring Muggle town of Oakwood. Kyanite and her friends must solve who has stolen the precious Shadowbooks from Chumasha. Only Onyx has seen the thief and has been bound by a spell from recalling the theft. With Onyx hidden safe in a magical merfolk underground city from the Wraith hunting him, now Kyanite and her friends must work to solve the theft before the final book is stolen and the world consumed by darkness. With her confidence and love for humanity, Kyanite rules the day by using her magical powers, confidence, and compassion to overcome any obstacle. So when I first got the idea for Kyanite Fairywing, I just was really entranced by the name. I was like, who is this that would call themselves Kyanite Fairywing? And if you're not familiar with any of my other books, they're all, just a little bit of background on that, they're all channeled. And so, for example, when I want to write a novel, I just call in ideas. I'm like, Spirit, just give me ideas. I call in the people from the book, from books, from stories, or people. I don't know how you want to explain it, but I just call in personas that want to share their story. And I kind of vet those ideas, and Kyanite Fairywing showed up for me, and I was immediately enchanted with the name and just her. She had a very bright, lively, fun energy, and it was kind of hard to decipher, is she a girl or is she a fairy? And I'm going to go more into that. So I wanted to write about her, and usually what will happen is I'll channel the first 2 or 3 chapters, and if I'm really down with it and I'm really vibing with it, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep going and I'm going to finish the book. And so I really liked this at the time when I was writing it, which I think was in 2016. Maybe it was I don't even know. I guess it was 2016. I really was needing that fresh, lively, like youth-filled energy of Kyanite and her friends, Onyx and Lilac. And so I guess I finished this book relatively quickly, although it ended up being almost 200 something pages. I remember now. Okay, here's what happened. Now I remember what was happening. This was as I was kind of like half channeling, half writing books. So I hadn't completely surrendered to trusting the channeling process for writing books. And so this was all about, so this does tie into belief, this was all about giving up control of, I guess, artistic license or whatever you want to call it. Because I remember I would walk every day. I lived in Dana Point, California at the time, and my house had a trail that led directly to the beach. And every morning I would walk the trail down to the beach. And every morning when I was writing Kyanite, like I got those first few chapters channeled, and then at that I was like, oh my God, I have to know. I think I was stuck on the writer's process. So here's one thing, like if you are interested in writing, I'm not saying this is for everybody, but for me, I thought, I guess I need to take some classes about how to write a book. Like how is a book formatted, and what's the guidelines for like how many chapters is a book supposed to have? And if you go down that path, you will find all sorts of people that talk about, how a book's supposed to be formatted, how many chapters, how they're supposed to be, oh my gosh, it was overwhelming. It was absolutely overwhelming. And the formatting, oh my word, I can't even explain to you, but the characters and how they're supposed to be laid out, and what type of, break the book into thirds, and the first third of the book is supposed to have this kind of stuff going on, and then if it's a mystery, then the second third of the book is supposed to have this. And I was like absolutely overwhelmed. And then when I got to that point, I got like writer's block, and I was like, holy crap, I don't know, like I have to know the whole book. It kind of made it seem like you had to know the whole book in advance. You had to like plan out every chapter and who was going to do what, and you had to high level design everything. And I was like, I got stuck. And I felt like I had to know the whole entire story before I could completely write anything else. And I was stuck like that for a while until Spirit finally said like, okay, do you want to just know the high level of each chapter? They kind of like spoon fed me like, okay, here's each chapter and here's kind of what it's about. And I tried to like fit it into this book outline thing, because then it was like book outlines was a big thing. And so this was all just a process of finding my own style, basically. And I had to believe in myself, which kind of will keep this short. But I ended up finishing the book, and it still was channeled in a sense, although I felt like I had to like know in advance like what was going to happen. And now it's so totally opposite from that. So this book was like a big learning experience for me. Kyanite really taught me like just be free. She's taught me so much over the years. Oh my God, I get emotional just thinking about it. So she just taught me to like let go and to be true to myself, which is kind of what she talks about in the book. So let me just pick. I just flip and pick and see if she'll give me like something to support that. Oh, here it is. I'm telling you. Okay. So what she's giving me is the Kyanite and Lilac get gifted a magic carpet that they can ride on to go to Chumasha. And this part of the book says, flying on a magic carpet is different than us flying by ourselves, Lilac thought to herself. When fairies fly, we use our wings to basically teleport from one place to another. We see things pass us very quickly, and then we are at our destination. There's not a lot of time to enjoy the journey, as the focus is getting there quickly. But on this carpet, it was so different. She didn't know that she wanted to travel any other way now. And that is what it was. It was like, I just felt like I had to quickly get through that. Quickly get to the end. Like I had to know the end so that I could fill in all the middle parts. And it was definitely not my style. And I definitely did not enjoy that part of the journey. I didn't like it. It felt unnatural to me. But I did finish the book. And let's move on to that part. It got finished regardless of the style that was used. But I do remember the arduous days of walking the trail down to the beach every morning going, what am I going to do with Kyanite Fairywing? What's supposed to happen? Blah, blah, blah. I've got writer's block. I can't continue unless I know. Then we move on to 2017. The beginning of 2017, the book was finished, and I was like, I want to get this book out there. I want everybody to be able to read it and enjoy it and this, that, and the other. And so I started working with a publisher to get the book out there. And, I didn't know the world of publishing very much, but they were giving me like all the quote unquote sweet talk of, oh, your book's going to be so great and blah, 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 and sign with us and this, that, and the other, and we'll get your book out there. And so I didn't really understand, I guess, that I could really do all the things that at that point I didn't really know that I didn't really have the confidence, I guess, because there's like so many layers to this book. I didn't really have the confidence, I think, to realize that I could just do all this myself, what they were talking about. So, they started talking about how they were going to design the book and working with the editor and all of that. And I was like, okay, I'm down with all that. And I really do, if they ever listen to this, I really do, I'm not going to name them, but if they ever do listen to this, like I really have great admiration for their brand and all of the books that they published. And I really do love everything that they've come out with, which is why I decided to sign on with them at the time to begin with. I kind of sought them out because I had read some books that they had published, and I was like, I really love everything about the art, the illustrations, the book design, all of that really just spoke to me. So I started working with them, and I finished the book, and I remember really excited, and I sent off my first draft manuscript to their editor. I'm anxiously kind of awaiting that to come back. And then, they started telling me like, oh, the book process, it can take a long time. And, maybe like a year or so, year or two, we'll get your book out there. And I was like, oh, okay. And then the first round of edits came back from the editor. And as I started reading through them, I was immediately like taken aback. I don't even know how to explain it. But right away, I knew that this person did not, quote unquote, get me. They didn't get where this book was coming from. Oh my God, I have to stop. There's a huge bird flying this way. I think it's a vulture. There's only one though. Okay, vulture is for somebody. Vulture is about clearing and clearing energy and cleaning, clearing and cleansing. So that's for someone out there that's listening to this. But a huge vulture just flew by. It's probably for me too, about continuing to clear my energy around that whole experience of what I'm talking about. But the person did not get me, okay? And the comments that they made about the book, like I completely was almost like in shock about some of the things that they were saying. And I'm sure they were trying to be helpful, but they were like, towards the ending of the book, they were like, this ending is really boring. Like, I don't know. And you can't say the word muggle because that belongs to, I don't know, Harry Potter or something. And I was like, all this like politically correct stuff and all this like I'm straight from the style guide type of stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know what to do then. I completely was like, I'm not editing my book I just was like, I went into defiance. And, I set the book on the shelf and I messaged the publisher back, and I'm like, I don't know when and if I'm ever going to publish this book. I'm sitting with these edits. I didn't even say I'm sitting with these edits. I just said, I think I might have changed my mind. I'm really not sure. I may have to rewrite this entire book. I felt like I had to rewrite the entire book. I was really doubting myself and my abilities at that point. And I'm sure this person was some sort of, teacher on my path. So I totally do thank them. And they're not even at that publisher anymore. They're gone. And then they designed a book cover for me. And it was so funny because typically I would think you would be part of the process of vetting a design, and I was like no part of the process whatsoever. I was just like, here's a book cover. And while it was really cute, I really liked it. I was like, wow, I guess I really would have liked some artistic license there. But it was kind of like, here's your cover. And not really even so much like, let us know if there's anything you'd want to do differently. And I'm sure they would have been open to that, but it just more felt like there wasn't even like a collab, like, oh, let's sit down with the person, the artist, and let's just talk about it and get some ideas. It was more like, here's your cover. And I really didn't jive with that either. And so I set the book aside, and I messaged them, and I said, I need a timeout. And they're like, oh, take your time. Sometimes it takes a while we understand the artistic process, and, we'll be here for you whenever. And I'm like, okay. And let's see, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2 years went by. 2019, I didn't do anything. And they messaged me a couple times. I'm like, no, I'm not ready. And I think it was the eclipse season of 2019. Yes, the eclipse season of 2019 was like, girl, you take your power back. You take your power back. And Spirit and my higher self was like, you can do this. And I started researching, like, what is book design, and then I was just led, on a little breadcrumb journey to like Amazon, KDP, and self-publishing your own books, and how to format a book manuscript, and how to design a book, and how to design a cover, and editing your own book. And I realized, and I knew that all my books were channeled, and I'm like, why would I edit channeled material? Like, that's straight from source, or in this case, it's straight from the people telling the story. Like, why would I edit their words? And why would I edit what they're trying to give me, in faith that I'm going to write their story the way they're telling it to me? Like, that's not how you would do that. That's not what I would do as a guardian of their story. I guess I want to put it that way. Like, I would take that as a sacred, not really a sacred text, but I would just take that as it was. I wouldn't try to change someone's story, right? You wouldn't want to try to change someone's story. This is someone's story, and who am I to change it as it's being given to me? So I never edit for content. And back in that summer of 2019, I had quite a few manuscripts that were done, already done. I had Reiki and Rock, which I had already finished, and I had already, had I self-published Reiki and Rock? I had already self-published Reiki and Rock. Yeah, I'd already self-published Reiki and Rock. And I had Shapeshift, Shaman's Awakening, and I had Kyanite Fairywing, and did I have something else? I swear there was something else. I don't remember now. There was 4. Shapeshift, Kyanite, Reiki and Rock. There's one that's escaping me now. Oh my gosh, how could it be? But anyway. Oh, Moxie and Roses. I had Moxie and Roses, the Thunder Rose. And Spirit was like, they were just giving me ideas, like, you should write in book series and not single books. And so I was like, all of these books could be series, because the story just doesn't end at one story. And man, that summer of 2019, I was like a book writing, publishing, editing, designing machine. I finished Moxie and Roses. I finished Kyanite Fairywing. Like, the manuscripts were written, but I self-published all of those books in 2019 in the course of about 2 months. I sat down, I did the editing. For me, editing is I try to do as much as I can with the grammar and the punctuation, because when I'm channeling, like, the channeling just comes out so fast that sometimes it kind of gets a little garbled. I try to slow them down, like, as I'm channeling, so that I can do all of the punctuation, especially like all the dialogue. It's challenging. But we try to keep that slow, and I get most of that right. But, they're not 100% perfect. Like, I understand that. And That's part of me working with having to feel like I'm a perfectionist. So I edited those books through a couple rounds of edits, and believe me, it was so much faster. By the time I finished those, I realized that if I really wanted to push myself to do a book, that in about 45 days, I could write a whole book and self-publish it. And I had at one point put a schedule together, like I'm really going to push these through and do that. And I realized, I didn't have to like rush the journey so much, back to that message that's going on there. So it's so funny because I had the book cover from the publisher and I was like, it's really cute. But I ended up creating my own anyway, just to prove. I created all my own book covers in Adobe Spark. And, they're not... My son, he's so blunt sometimes. He's so truthful. He's like, this is something I could do in 5 minutes in Photoshop. And I'm like, okay. But they got out there, and they got out there with my heart and soul and my light and my energy attached to them. And I think it was really the use of colors and the use of the colors for me, and the symbols that were within the covers, or what was important to convey, as coming from my heart. And so they're asking me to kind of read another one. So let's say, the Wraith closes in. All right, so let's just take a break from talking about the book for a minute. We're going to read a little bit from a chapter called The Wraith Closes In. This is the Shadowbooks were stolen, and Kyanite's friend / potential boyfriend knows the secret about who stole the books, but it was kind of blocked from his third eye, so he couldn't see who it was. But the bad guy, quote unquote, the bad guy, sent a wraith out to basically kill him, because he knew who. Oh, I'm getting chills. He knew, who the thief was, and the thief was a very important person, and did not want to be, found out. So let's just read from this chapter 21 a few pages of The Wraith Closes In. And then we'll go back to talking about the final little segment of what's happening with Kyanite Fairywing as she evolves through time with me. So chapter 21, The Wraith Closes In. Kyanite wasn't sure if she could feel any worse, she thought, as she dropped her cell into her bag and got up to go inside. And now to plan this outing into the dark wood. How was she going to approach this with respect and dignity for the both of them? She still didn't know if Perry was the thief. Although there was evidence to prove it, Kyanite still felt like she had doubts. If Perry was the thief, then she needed to draw her out and then be prepared for a battle. After all, the thief had gone to the trouble of sending out a wraith, and everyone knew what a vile and deplorable creature a wraith was. It simply would not stop trying to complete its intended task until either the task was done, the wraith was eliminated, which was highly unlikely, or it was called off by its master. On the other hand, if Perry wasn't the thief, then Kyanite would need to be delicate and prepared for apologies and the fact that Perry might never forgive her for what she had done on this day. Perry is her best friend, or one of her best friends. Well, this is what I signed up for and was initiated into, she thought. I am an officer in the elite fairy guard, and my job is to protect the beings of Chumasha as my first course of action. Friendship was supposed to be secondary, she reminded herself, but she still couldn't help feeling terrible about the whole situation. She was pulled out of her thoughts by her cell ringing and could tell by the ringtone that it was Lilac. She answered and knew Lilac was concerned about her. You okay, Kyanite? Lilac said when she answered. Lilac, yes, I'm doing okay. What about you? Are you still going? Yes, I'm all packed, and Galena and Perlane know I'm coming and are waiting for me. I just wanted to call you before I left, Lilac said. Thanks, Kyanite said, loving her dear friend so much. I appreciate it. I've talked to Perry, and she's going to meet me in the morning, and then we're going to the dark wood together. She thinks we're going as part of the investigation for the case." "Oh, okay. I can tell this is so hard for you, Kyanite. Are you sure you don't want me to go along?" Lilac said, although she hoped not. She really needed this time to herself. "No, it will be easier for all of us if I take her by myself. Anyway, you need to get your head together," Kyanite said, thinking she could really use Lilac's presence to calm her, but knowing her best friend needed the time alone. "Okay, well, then call me if you discover anything or need me to come back for anything. I mean it, Kyanite. I'm here for you. All you have to do is call, and I'll drop everything and come back. I promise." "I know, love. I know. Now go and have a good time. Give Galena and Perlane my love." "I will, Kyanite. Goodbye," Lilac said. "Now to pull my tools together for this journey," Kyanite thought. She got out her bag and protection belt and started looking through her grimoire for ideas. She found a page in her book that dealt with a similar situation and sat down to read. This is important for someone listening. When working with energies of deception in friends and family, one must approach the situation with great care. Gather the following tools to assist you in this endeavor: blue sapphire stone to be worn or carried by the practitioner, ginkgo biloba tea for the subject, mugwort to protect the practitioner. Call in the power animal lynx to stand by you as truth seeker and guardian. Ask Archangel Raphael to help both parties in bringing out the truth. Most importantly, heavily cloak your energy and intentions in this matter, because you are now the deceiver seeking one who is deceiving. Trust that divine love will prevail, and if your subject truly is deceiving you, then you must be prepared to react once the deceit has been brought out into the open. Once this occurs, ask Archangel Raphael to assist you with any healing and forgiveness work. Say this prayer before meeting with your subject. Holy Mother and Father God, dear angels and archangels, all my guardian angels and helping spirits, I pray to you now for courage and strength. Guide my heart, guide my words, and guide my action, always in the direction of divine love and light. Amen. And chant this invocation 3 times before. Archangel Michael, please guard me by your love. Guard me by heavenly hosts above. Guard me by your light, and keep me safe forever, shielded in your purple light. Kyanite sat for a moment, absorbing the words, and then began looking for her supplies. She took her blue sapphire pendant and wrapped it in a soft cloth and placed it in her bag. Then she went out to the garden to harvest some of her fall gold ginkgo biloba, making sure to ask the plant for its permission before cutting the beautiful golden leaves. She sang the plant a song as she clipped a few leaves and placed them in her bag. Then she went into her apothecary for the dried mugwort she had harvested this past spring and placed several sprigs in her protection belt. Oh, so that is... that's the depths of Kyanite Fairywing. It's not just a story about some fairy girls. It goes very deep into some topics about deception and friendship and love and trust and faith, which are all the things that have come up for me as I've journeyed through the many stages of this book. And so to close out the topic of believe, I want to talk a little bit. It's all been a journey of believing in myself as I've written this book. When I decided to self-publish it and just ignore all the feedback I had gotten about it and realize my work is channeled. It can't go through somebody who's editing content, because I refuse to change anything that's been channeled here. Designing my own book cover and putting Kyanite out there for the world to see. And now we're here this month in December of 2020 is when I'm recording this, and Kyanite has taken another she's had an upgrade, I guess, which is why I'm bringing her back again as our book of the month. So the publisher had contacted me several times by email, and I was just I don't know what to tell them. Do I want to tell them I self-published the book? Do I want them to do anything more with this book? I pulled out the old cover they designed, and I'm like, well, my son is right. Like, their cover is much more artistically beautiful than mine, although it just didn't feel like it had my energy in it at all. It just felt very drab in terms of like the light, the energy coming from the design itself. And that's nothing against, I don't even have the name of the person that did the original cover art. There's nothing against them or anything like that. It just didn't feel like it was me. So I contacted the publisher about a month ago, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm never going to publish this book through you. I was just very nice about it, but I'm like, I just realized I can't. My work cannot go the traditional route. So I was really standing strong and firm in my beliefs and standing in my truth. And I'm like, I've already self-published this book. And I'm not going to be doing any other books the traditional route of publishing. I just do all my own design and all. It has to be all. I just basically at that point it was like I have to do it all myself. And I know there's parts of it I don't. Like, believe me, if the grammar editing and manuscript formatting is just not something I really want to have to do myself. And all the uploading, that definitely I can use a PA for that for sure. But what I did do is I was all set and ready. I asked the publisher, I'm like, can I just please get my book cover files because I want to use the cover on my book? And they were like, sure, yeah, we'll look and we'll send them to me. And I kind of got the sense like maybe they're not. I don't think this is a priority for them since it hasn't been a priority for me. But I did have some of the initial cover art they had sent me, and I'm like, I can use this. It's just a digital file, and I'm very technically inclined. It's some of the starseed in me. I'm very technically inclined, and so I'm just watching this person jog by right now. Oh, Spirit, they love to make me laugh. It's like super cold out, and he has little shorts, and he has no shirt, and like a green hat. I don't know why that's important for somebody to hear. It was very interesting. It was like the green hat was like some sort of exclamation mark. But anyway, so I worked a little bit with the cover art that I had, that the other person had done, and I actually did put it out there for the book. I uploaded it to Amazon and Smashwords, my ebook publisher. And then I looked at it in my bibliography of books, or like my library, my book library, and I looked at it sitting there amongst all my other books that I had created. And I looked and I wasn't happy with what I saw. I was like, this just feels so drab. It just does not feel like me. And then I started looking at my more current designs. So, some of the earlier book covers are a little bit kind of just, very rudimentary design. And then I started looking at some of the oracle card decks that I've been creating recently and the designs. And I'm like, man, in the past even year, it's just been a year. It feels like longer, but I'm like, in the past year of practicing making my oracle decks, because some of my earlier oracle decks are very plain. I mean, they're beautiful. I love all of them. But even the decks that I'm starting to create now is like, oh my God, my artwork has gotten so much more layered, so much more nuances. I feel like I have so much more confidence in what I'm doing, and so it's getting better. And I was looking at that, and I'm like, girl, you can do better than that cover art. And I just looked at the cover art, which I really liked. It had some little bugs and some little plants and stuff. And I'm like, I can recreate this myself, and I can do it in my colors and my personal style. And I can make something very close to what was created by this person, but it has my soul signature on it and nobody else's. And so a few days ago, that's what I did. I went in and I was actually not even feeling very good, but I'm like, I'm going to make this cover. And it's because, someone was talking about the color magenta, Amanda Ellis. I love Amanda Ellis. And I was watching her, and she was talking about the magenta ray and how it's the bridge between like spirit and earth planes. And I was like, that's it. That is Kyanite Fairywing. She is like the bridge between spirit and earth planes, because she's very earthy, And one thing the editor said that she was very confused about as she read the book was she couldn't tell if Kyanite was a girl or a fairy, and she had to know. And she had to know, like, well, how come Kyanite didn't just walk somewhere? Why did she not fly if she was a fairy? And if she was a girl, why is she flying when she should be walking? I was like, oh my God, forget it. So that was another thing. It was like very literal minded, and I'm like, my work is not for the literal minded. My work is for people who, I always say it's for people who want a little bit more magic in their lives, who believe in, you know, all the elementals and spirit and magic, and you just can't sometimes explain these creatures or these energies. There might be a little wind, sorry, from a literal point of view. You can't, and I wasn't going to try. And so the magenta color, when Amanda Ellis was talking about magenta, I'm like, that is Kyanite. She's like the bridge between spirit and the elementals. She's not fully a girl, and she's not fully an angel, and she's not fully a fairy. She's like an emanation of, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get emotional. She's like an emanation of all of them. And really, as I write a lot of these books, like, I find myself, my soul signature, past incarnations, or just the magic within me come out as part of these people, these personas in these books. And so I did. I created a new cover. It's beautiful magenta color, and it's got my vision of what that intended cover art was supposed to have been back then. And who knows how many other facelifts she might have, who knows? I don't know. I'm starting to work on my, not 3D art, I don't want to call it that, but I mainly do digital art stuff. And believe me, I am by no way at this point in time, like, I cannot, there are many people that I admire that I'm like, okay, I aspire to be like that. But I feel like it's in a good place for where I need it to be at the moment, and I'm always seeking to improve my artwork. But what I want to do now is get back to like my drawings and my sketches and my I don't do so much art journaling, but like bigger art pieces, and working with mixed media. I really want to get into that. And so who knows, the next cover of Kyanite Fairywing could very well be a mixed media art piece that I've come up with. And she's just going to continue to evolve. Yeah, just like I'm continuing to evolve. And so let's just pick one more little chapter. Oh my God, please excuse this wind. I didn't know there was wind today. My husband said there was no wind, and there's wind. All right. Oh, we're back to Magic Carpet Ride again. So chapter 11 is Magic Carpet Ride. We're going to finish out this book intro, and just see where this takes us. A knight and a rider, a woman with no face and a heart beating, then a potion being stirred and cackling laughter. Kyanite woke with a start. What was that, she thought? It was the most hideous dream. Was it clues to something more? She wasn't sure. She had always been taught to take dreams seriously, so she started by trying to recall as much as she could about it. She couldn't get the faceless woman or the laughter out of her head, and was still pondering it when Lilac awoke and sat up. Are you okay? Lilac said dreamily. You look lost in thought. I am, Kyanite said, proceeding to share her dream. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see if any of these clues turn up as we go, she said, perplexed by the strange set of clues. I'm going to write it down so I don't forget. She sat there, still pondering the dream and staring blankly at the paper with all the clues written on it. Lilac reached over and shook the paper. Are you going to sit there all day? We need to get back home and start working on this. Yes, you're right, Kyanite said, wrapping the paper up and placing it into her belt. As they readied to leave, their two hosts returned to bid them farewell. Thank you, dear Galena and Purslane, for allowing us in and for your hospitality and healing. We will never forget your kindness, Kyanite said, bowing slightly to the elders. You are most welcome, dear one, said Galena. Now if you want to head for Chumasha, then you must leave through the western gateway of our lands. It is several days' journey on foot, but we know you have various means of getting there, said Purslane. There is nothing to harm you between here and there, as those lands have been heavily cloaked in the mists of protection. However, you should fly invisible just as an added precaution. We know the wraith has been getting close, and we have sent him on a wild chase in another direction using very magical decoys, said Galena. Keep going, friends, and be safe. Here is a package for your journey, said Galena. I have included all your favorites. Lilac smiled with satisfaction. Yum, jelly rolls, she said softly. And for you, Kyanite, said Galena. And then a beautiful carpet appeared on the ground in front of her. Oh, this is too much, Kyanite said graciously. I can't accept this. Oh, you shall. It is our gift to you, said Galena. Its magic will help you get safely home, and it's such a fun way to travel, too. You simply must try it. Oh, thank you so much, Kyanite said excitedly. Wow, my very own magic carpet, she said, bending down to touch the fringed edges of the carpet. Did you see her, Lilac? She's a beauty, Kyanite said as she rolled it out onto the damp ground. Okay, we're ready, Kyanite said confidently. Step on and we are going to fly. Now, what is that invisibility spell I used the last time, Lilac? The girls both stood on the carpet with a hand on each of their belts and recited the spell from memory, remembering to also include the carpet in the spell. And now for liftoff, Kyanite said, excited to see what magic the carpet held. Rise, O magic carpet, and take us to Chumasha, she said. As the carpet lifted strongly off the ground, it hovered for a moment as Galena and Purslane waved goodbye, and then gently and gracefully flew off and away. Now Kyanite wasn't much for knowing how to navigate a carpet, but this one didn't seem to need any direction. It flew, and they felt safe and protected by the invisibility spell. They could see the lands below and how beautiful the countryside and oceans were from way up high. More magic carpet riding. You'll notice that took me to magic carpet riding, or magic carpets twice in our reading. So it's just, Kyanite is all about believing the power of magic. She really is. And this time, I'm recording this in December, it really is, if you're listening to it then, or it's really a timeless message, like who cares when you listen to it. It's really about believing in your own magic, believing in the power of your dreams, believing in yourself, and just not taking no for an answer. Don't let your ego or anybody else talk you out of your dreams, anybody else, and just keep going for it. Whatever it is, just keep going. I mean, if it's romance, if it's career, if it's, self-improvement, if it's, whatever, don't let anybody else talk you out of what you know to be true in your heart. That's the message of Kyanite Fairywing that I want to leave with you today. And I just hope you all receive this with as much light and love as she's sending to you through the airwaves today. And so I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to thank you for listening with me. And I know there was something I wanted to say at the end of this, but I can't remember now. But if you are interested in reading about her, reading her story, then like I said, you can catch her in all the places that I mentioned earlier. And next time that I'm back on the podcast, we will be back to Abigail Smile and the December story, which is Hot Spice Cider. So I will see you all again very soon. I'm releasing all our guides and releasing our circle from around us, and I hope you've received any messages or guidance or inspiration that you needed today from this message. So thank you, everybody, so tongue-tied, for listening, and take care. We'll see you again next time. This podcast has been sponsored by the Fairies of Chumasha, an etheric city in 2025 full of fairies, angel witches, unicorns, and merfolk, a place where magic is very real. The Fairies of Chumasha invite you to believe in your own magic, never give up on your dreams, and always strive to be the best that you can be. Don't ever give up on yourself, and just simply believe.